Welcome to today's episode of Molecules to Medicine podcast. For those of you just joining the podcast, we are AI Jewels, and we specialize in helping healthcare and life science companies scale their business and revenue and explore how AI is reshaping the industry and accelerating innovation. So if you'd like to learn more about your healthcare or life science business to take to the next level, just make sure you stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop us a word growth in the DMs and we'll get back to you. I'm your host, Hadi, and we have a very exciting guest for you today. We have Solmaz Ibrahimi, the co-founder and CEO from PinkDetect. Welcome, Solmaz.
Thank you so much, Hardeep, for having me today. It's a real honor to be here. Um, yeah,
Great. And where are you talking to us from today?
I am talking to you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Solmaz, tell us a bit about your background and the journey that led you to PinkDetect and any pivotal moments or experience that have shaped your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is in biomedical sciences. I actually did my bachelor at Toronto Metropolitan University, and I guess I've always been drawn to medicine and healthcare even before university. I think a big part of that comes from being an Iranian Canadian. So I'm a second generation immigrant. I've had a lot of opportunity to grow up in between cultures, and I think that's really shaped how I understand care and community. And again, just growing up in between cultures really showed me that health is not just like a biological state; it's tied to language and culture and religion and trust. And in a lot of these, immigrant communities, and even back home in Iran, where I'm from, there are certain health concerns that are very misunderstood and overlooked. So I guess, as a part of my upbringing, part of me always wanted to, help build something for these communities because I have a soft spot for these communities. And I've been, privileged enough to grow up in Canada, where access to this type of information is much easier compared to other regions in the world. So during my undergrad, I ended up co-founding PinkDetect with my best friend and co-founder, Suha Lilani, who's like the brains behind the operation. And we actually came up with the idea during a cancer biology course assignment that we were doing, where we were studying a late breast cancer detection in developing countries. And we just happened to focus on Pakistan, which is where Suha is from. And honestly, when we were doing our research, the statistics were very disheartening. Like Pakistan has the highest breast cancer rate in South Asia. Of 1 in 9 women will develop breast cancer, and most of these cases are detected late. And we knew that these weren't just numbers because, given my background and given her background, we knew that there are certain barriers that women in these regions face that other people don't. And we knew that lack of tools and education was most definitely a big factor to that. So what made it kind of like even a bigger push for us was that Suha unfortunately lost her maternal aunt to stage 4 breast cancer. So again, late detection of breast cancer. And the issue kind of went from being this statistic, and it kind of blew out of the page into something personal. And we had a moment where we were like, okay, so this is happening to our family. It can hit really close to home. It's probably happening to a lot of different families in a lot of different places. And we knew that there are probably many women who are facing, the same situation of late diagnosis because of cultural barriers, because of stigma, because of fear. Of that type of diagnosis. So after my undergrad, I ended up doing a master's in molecular science at TMU as well. And my research mostly focused on, it was pretty unrelated. It was lysosome adaptation and remodeling. Still loved it. It was very cell biology based. But I actually ended up learning a lot about cancer biology because we had conjoined lab meetings with our sister lab, the Antonescu lab. I just kind of kept reinforcing, the same thing of like early detection saves lives. So important. So that's really kind of the journey that led us to developing Pink Detect. So our organization kind of has two main pillars. We have a technology, like our first pillar is technology, where we have like developed a culturally sensitive breast health management app. And then we also have a second pillar, is our community-based organization, where we conduct on the ground initiatives, like workshops and camps um, in underserved and underprivileged communities.
Okay, fantastic. So tell me a bit about PinkDetect. What is it exactly that you do? And you mentioned you do it for for underprivileged communities in Pakistan. Is that the main market, or is it, or where are you looking to expand it there from there?
Well, I mean, when we first started off, because of, this cultural stigma, like I mentioned, when we first started off, it was mainly, I guess, in Pakistan, but we have like outreach to other regions. Like we've done workshops and camps in India as well. Um, and a bit about what we do, like if I can talk a bit about, I guess, both of the pillars that we work on. So first was, this innovative side of our organization is this breast health management app. And so like we kind of created like an app where you can track self breast examinations through a very user friendly platform, and it kind of gives you like a personal journal of a medical record that you can use for yourself, to track that aspect of health. And I guess for our grassroots initiatives, three main programs that we do are workshops, medical camps, and our train the trainer program. So for the workshops, we go into like specific communities, and not just underserved communities as well. Like I also host workshops at TNU. We've hosted workshops at Seton Hall University in USA. Like there have been like other, because we think breast health management is important for not just those communities, but we realize that those communities face specific barriers. So we try to reach those as well. So our first type of like program is our workshop, our educational workshop. So we just provide that information in a culturally sensitive way. And then we also, for a bit more rural communities, we have our medical screening camps where we bring on-site physician, host. It's kind of like a conjunction of a workshop with like a little bit more. So we have like uh, supplements that we provide. There are doctors on site that do free clinical breast exams. And then if there are any abnormalities, they can actually write referrals and refer them to mammograms, which we also sponsor. And then I guess our most prized program would be our Train the Trainer program. We go into, we partnered with the Ministry of Health in Pakistan, and I guess we're training community health workers that are trusted by those communities to incorporate breast cancer awareness within their training sessions. So I guess we were trying to leverage, that relationship trust within the community of already recognized members, and, trying to spread, this importance of breast cancer awareness so that those communities can hear from somebody that they trust.
Okay, great. And how does it work in terms of getting the screenings completed? If there isn't that set up already in terms of physicians, how do you go about that? Is there a way to for somebody who's detected a possible cancer in themselves to be able to get to the right clinic?
So like, are you asking me like I guess, like a real situation where we've actually
Yeah.
had? Yeah. So that's actually, it was something I wanted to mention. It was one of the most, um, meaningful results that we had, in our first, one of our earliest medical camps. We held one in Liari, Pakistan. And basically, in like I mentioned, we have these on-site physicians, and if there's any abnormalities, we don't, like, again, I'm in Canada, right? So I'm not on the ground, but we
Mm.
do everything remotely. But we do have members in Pakistan who are on the ground who work with us. Like our CTO Wakas, he's a medical student there.
Uh-huh.
And basically, one of the a couple weeks after the camp that we conducted there, we were reached out to one of the attendees of the camp, and she actually told us that, she got a referral at the camp to go get a mammogram, and that she was diagnosed with stage 2 invasive ductal carcinoma, which is the cancer of the milk duct and spreads to surrounding breast tissue. And like, of course, it was very unfortunate to hear, but there was this kind of hope and happiness that she had, because she reached out to us to let us know that she would have not gotten the screening, um, and not, gotten checked. She wouldn't have known if she didn't attend the camp. So that was kind of a very meaningful, almost emotional moment for us, because it kind of showed that the work that we were trying to do really was reaching people, not just like, I think that would be like the best possible circumstance. But for us, I guess like a meaningful result is it can be like, oh, like students go home with more knowledge about breast cancer management and why it's important and the importance of early detection. So it's kind of like a spectrum.
Okay, fantastic. And what's the biggest challenge or bottlenecks you're facing with PinkDetect and getting users using it? What is the biggest challenge there?
I think one of the biggest bottlenecks or like, one of the biggest challenges that we face, I think it would be like so we want to scale PinkDetect and it's a little bit difficult to scale PinkDetect, with this whole idea of cultural sensitivity that we have in mind in regions where we don't have on the ground representation. Like I mentioned, I'm in Canada and Suha is in Boston and Wakas is in Pakistan. And we have another member who's in India. So we have these like on the ground ambassadors. Um, but it's a bit difficult because certain underserved communities, organizations that work in those communities don't always have the most prominent technological footprint. It's a bit difficult to communicate with them unless you have, somebody who's there who has those pre-built connections. So I guess expansion requires in regions where we don't have like partners is a little bit difficult. So, we'd have to really try to find people who can work on our team in different regions so that we can spread our mission to wider regions that require the same support.
Mm. And moving away from developing countries, I mean, what about in Canada or the USA, Europe? I mean, for example, in the UK, I think ladies, females will just get a letter to say,
Yeah.
and in between, there's nothing, right? And it's not just for breast cancer, maybe cervical cancer as well. To come for your. But with breast cancer, it's something that they can probably check more often, right? Without actually having to go and get the screening done. Is
Mhm.
there scope for this to be used, worldwide in any country?
Yeah, so actually our app is available in on App Store and Google Play Store for all countries. I think I kind of mainly focus on underserved cultures because that's where the idea of Pink Detect kind of originated from. But this is like a free for all access to all. It's usable for everyone. I think we just tailored it to make it accessible as like to our communities, but also to these other communities who are overlooked. Like
Mm,
if you would think about it, part of the reason we have this app is also to cater to, individuals like Canadians, people who are in, first world countries. And because they have more access to this type of technology. And,
yeah,
women use the app like Flow, where it helps you track their menstrual cycle. So it's kind of like the same thing, but for breast health management. It's user friendly, it's available for everyone to use free of charge. And I guess, another big thing that we're trying to do is like we're trying to, I guess, promote it to the universities, to students, so that they are aware this is an important thing, so that you don't just wait until you're 30 years old and getting a, a nail that
yeah, sure. And what makes Pink Detect different from others trying to solve the same problem?
I think the biggest thing for us really is our cultural sensitivity. Like I mentioned, I feel like there are surprisingly very minimal number of apps that have to do with breast health management and awareness. And I think the apps that do exist don't really take into consideration that uh, the cultural sensitivity factor that might not be comfortable for somebody to see, an image of an anatomical breast because of that person's upbringing or the environment that they grew up in. And another thing that I think we try to do is we try to really look at overlooked communities. We try to make it very accessible. Like some of the camps that we host are, we actually recently hosted one for individuals for the transgender community because, transgender women are also at higher risk of developing breast cancer because of hormonal therapies that they undergo. Also, making it accessible for deaf and like hard of hearing individuals, it's blind individuals. We've done workshops with braille resources. We try to kind of look out for the little guy in the situation.
All right, great. And where do you see the biggest opportunities for innovation or impact within women's health right now? And looking ahead,
Uh,
what excites you most about the future?
what excites me most about the future? It's a good
Is there any
question.
developments? Is there any developments that you're seeing from institutions, maybe at Toronto University, that could work in favor with this? I mean, for example, I worked on a study where in the UK there is called the Gallery trial, where it's a blood test that they're looking to use in the NHS, where it can detect 50 different types of cancers from a blood test. So really helping uh, m- people over 40 and 50 years old have these blood tests and where they can really detect certain key cancers. Is there anything that could work in conjunction with your product?
Well, I think one thing that we were looking to do was building partnerships with clinical diagnostic centers, like for example in Pakistan, like there are different clinical and diagnostic centers that if they go there for that mammogram, maybe getting a discount if they sign up with our app. or no, like, working with those partnerships so that we can also reach a wider audience because obviously those clinics have more access to the population than we do. So I guess, working with more, we also want to also work with like, I mentioned we work with Ministry of Health in Pakistan. So I guess also working in Ministry of Health maybe in other regions like, um, India. We're also currently trying to expand, like our current expansion goal is to um, kind of expand into sub-Saharan Africa. And so we've hired some interns and Suha's working on some grants for those regions as well, so that we can find the on-the-ground representatives to be able to build closer partnerships with those regions and kind of conduct the same work that we're conducting, but just access, scale it, access to more regions.
Okay, fantastic. And what stage is PinkDetect at right now? And what does growth look like for you over the next 12 months? And how do you see yourselves evolving over the next few years?
So where I think like is at right now, I think we're like, like we've been able to reach a lot of women. So I'm pretty proud of where we've come right now. I think that growth is definitely something we always want to try to scale it, right? So our biggest goal in the next 12 months is really to penetrate that sub-Saharan region, and work with, building partnerships with those communities and the nonprofits, academic institutions, student groups, which is one of the first, workshops we conducted with a student group in India. So kind of do the same thing for sub-Saharan Africa and kind of, build the trust between fintech and those communities. So I guess, another thing would just be getting more users to use our app, promoting our products and letting them know that, letting, everyone know that it is free and we made it for, the population for everyone to use, for their own well-being.
Okay, great. And where can people learn more about PinkDetect or get in touch with you and your team, Solnaz?
So we have obviously our LinkedIn. Everyone can check out our LinkedIn. And also please check out our website, pinkdetect.com. We spent a lot of time on it. It has lots of information that can be useful for everybody there. We're always looking for, new volunteers, ambassadors that are, looking to be involved in women's health.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Solmaz. Thank you for joining. Very interesting. Excellent work you're doing there, and I hope it's reaches the right people, especially in those cancer rates. That'd be very very important work. So all the best, and thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Hardy, for having me. Thank you. Thank you so much.